Welcome to True Reddit Reads, where real stories don't need fiction to leave you speechless. Today you'll hear about a firefighter once hailed as a hero, then called a fraud, mocked, humiliated, kicked in the pride right at the place meant to honor him. But he didn't fight back, not because he was afraid, but because he knew some fires can't be put out with water, only by letting the ones who started them burn themselves down. This is a story of endurance, of loyalty from a service dog, and the steep price of stolen honor. Chapter 1: Who I Am and Why I Stayed Silent. I used to think I was a strong person. Not the muscle-bound kind of strong, but the kind who could calmly walk into a burning building while everyone else was running out. 18 years in the fire service taught me that. I've seen it all: house fires, car crashes, midnight rescues, and pouring rain. I used to believe nothing could scare me. Until I survived. That fire at the preschool. It wasn't like any nightmare I had ever lived through. The flames swallowed everything too fast. The sound of children screaming, the creaking of splintering wood, the voices of my teammates calling to each other over the radio, then cutting off just like that. I saved 47 children that day. But I was the only one on the team who came out of that building still breathing. They called me a hero. The newspapers ran stories. TV stations aired interviews. I was awarded a medal. But once the ceremony ended, nobody asked me, "Are you okay?" Nobody saw the nights I couldn't sleep for months. Nobody saw me relearning how to breathe, how to step out the door each morning without trembling from the memory. I was diagnosed with severe PTSD. Panic attacks hit out of nowhere. Just someone dropping a glass could set me off. And the smell of smoke from a gas stove made me throw up. I started medication, and Bella, my service dog, became the only shield between me and total collapse. She never leaves my side. She knows when I'm about to lose control. She knows when I need to get out of a room. She knows how to press her head against my chest until my heartbeat settles again. I left the fire service a year after the fire. Not because I was weak, but because I knew I couldn't keep running into flames with shaking hands and a mind full of the screams of kids I couldn't save. I still keep my old uniform. I still have that medal, but I rarely wear it. I don't need anyone to know. I survived, and that's enough. So when I stayed silent at the memorial, when those two men ripped off my medal, kicked Bella, forced me to prove my scars in front of a crowd, it wasn't because I was weak. It was because I was once the man who ran into the fire. I once held 47 children in my arms and walked them through the flames to safety. I know who I am, and I don't need to scream to prove it. I stayed silent, but I haven't forgotten. And they forgot the most important thing: those who survive, we don't give up. Chapter 2: That day. The humiliation. I'll never forget. The day of that memorial, it was cold, but bright. I arrived early as I always did. Not to be noticed, but to sit quietly near the wall where the names of the fallen were etched. I knew exactly which 5 names were in the third row, my 5 teammates. One had just gotten married a few months earlier. One was close to retirement. One never got the chance to have kids. I brought a small bouquet and a crumpled old newspaper clipping. Hero saves 47 children from kindergarten fire. A headline that sounded fake. But to me it was real, and it was also the reason I couldn't sleep for years. I wore a plain coat hiding my medal beneath the fabric. Bella stayed close to my leg as always. No one noticed me. That was fine. I wasn't there to be seen. Until 2 uniformed honor guards started walking toward me. I didn't know who they were. I hadn't done anything to draw attention. But the moment their eyes landed on Bella, I saw the shift in their gaze. The disdain was immediate. One of them, the taller one with slicked back hair, pointed at Bella and sneered. "Fake service dog! Another glory thief!" The other one, younger, holding his phone up recording, started circling me and Bella like he was hunting something. I took a step back and pulled out my retired firefighter ID, meaning to explain, but before I could say a word, one of them smacked my hand away. "What are you hiding?" he barked. He grabbed my collar and yanked me back, which startled Bella. Her leash caught around my leg, nearly making me fall flat on my face. I had to grab the memorial wall just to keep from collapsing. One of them dumped my bag onto the stone floor, medication spilled everywhere. My anxiety pills got crushed under his boot, right on top of a fallen comrade's name. The whole thing felt unreal, but it happened in broad daylight. "Trying to impersonate a firefighter, then prove it," he shouted. I stammered, trying to explain that I had PTSD. He snorted, "Then show me the scar." I pulled down my collar, revealing the scorched patch of skin where fire once kissed my flesh. He reached out and touched it, not to examine, just to point, then laughed like it was some Halloween costume. Then he ripped open my coat, tearing off every medal and emblem I'd ever been awarded. The challenge coin from my father, a first-generation firefighter, was crushed in his palm like a piece of trash. The newspaper clipping I'd held onto for 20 years, torn to shreds like toilet paper. A photo slipped out, me and my team taken before the fire. Of the 5 people in that picture, I'm the only one left. He held it up, glanced at it, then ripped it in half in front of me. Photoshop. Nice try. I couldn't speak, not even when the crowd around us began turning away. Some pointed, some shook their heads. One woman muttered, "Probably a meth explosion." A young guy looked at Bella and said, "That vest's from Amazon, I bet." I stayed silent. Not because I had nothing to say, but because at that moment my mind was filled with only one sound: children screaming inside the fire. Then the taller man bent down, trying to pull off my faded wedding ring. He sneered, "Wife left you because she couldn't handle this mess, huh? Bet your kid wishes you died in there rather than having to admit you survived like this." I don't remember how I kept breathing after that. I don't even remember if I fell or was shoved. All I know is my head hit cold stone. And Bella howled when her leash was yanked from me. A painful, heart-wrenching scream. And that scream was what snapped me back to reality. I crawled across the scattered pills, palms bleeding, dragging myself toward her. Every breath felt like barbed wire tearing through my chest. I couldn't see the crowd, couldn't see the cameras. All I saw was Bella's terrified eyes, and I had only one thought: I have to reach her. I had stayed silent. I had endured. I had tried to live a decent life, to find peace within the pain. But that day, they touched the one thing I could never forgive. Chapter 3. Who's the Villain? Here, 3 days after that ceremony, I still couldn't sleep. I would sit for hours in the dark, listening on repeat to the recording someone posted online for fun of Bella's scream. They saw a trembling man lying on the memorial stones, hands bloodied, meds scattered, but what I saw was my only friend being kicked until her mouth bled, and no one, not one person, did a damn thing to stop it. I used to believe justice came from above, from the system, from those in charge. But that morning when Chief Jackson called me, he didn't talk about justice. He just said, "I'm sorry. They've been fired." Yeah, fired, but what else? They humiliated me. They destroyed the last things I had left. They stomped on Bella like she was a torn-up toy. And I just curled up and took it, because if I reacted, I'd be the unhinged ex-firefighter. So I started digging. The big guy, the one who slapped my hand when I reached for my ID, his name was Marcus Chen, 34 years old, married, 2 kids, works part-time at a private gym. His social media was full of gym selfies and cheap motivational quotes like "the weak make excuses, the strong take action." He wasn't a firefighter, just an honor guard, the kind who shows up at ceremonies in uniform for photo ops, not the kind who runs into burning buildings. The other guy, the younger one, his name was Ryan Fitzgerald, 26, still lives with his parents in the suburbs, practically no social life. But boy, did he love to talk about protecting the honor of the fire service. To put it plainly, he's the kind of guy who loves being called a hero without ever having to earn it. His socials were packed with pics from ceremonies, videos of him standing at attention, shaking hands, holding flags. He looked like the soul of every memorial event. But the truth, I've never seen him at a single real scene. And that makes sense, he's never actually set foot inside a fire. I spent hours printing everything, their schedules, workplaces, gym routines, cafe spots, check-in habits. Every detail was a puzzle piece. Marcus hits the gym at 5 a.m. sharp. After workouts, he grabs smoothies next door, wears skin-tight shirts, drives a shiny new BMW, which I know for a fact no honor guard salary can pay for. Ryan was different. Every Thursday night, he strutted into a local bar like a damn peacock, always alone at the counter, striking up conversations with women, bragging about his encounters with fake firefighters. He told stories like a theater actor, even reenacted the kick, the one he gave Bella. I watched from the shadows in my worn-out coat and a cap pulled low. He laughed, smug, performing for his little audience. Sometimes I felt heat rushing through me. My hands trembled, not from meds, but from memory, because I remembered exactly how Marcus crushed my anti-anxiety pills beneath his boot, like he was crushing me. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw their faces. I was a firefighter. I ran into fire and never left anyone behind. I carried screaming children through smoke, through explosions, through hellfire that roared like demons. And now, I couldn't let two uniformed frauds walk around like nothing ever happened. They picked the wrong man to humiliate. And more importantly, they kicked the wrong damn dog. Chapter 4. The First Phase of Revenge. Peeling back the masks. I started with the easiest target, Marcus, and his early morning routine. He arrived at the gym at exactly 5:02 every morning, parking his shiny BMW in the corner spot near the window. I sat in my car across the street, holding a cup of lukewarm coffee, taking notes on every little detail. At first, I didn't even know what I planned to do. I'm not the kind of person who enjoys revenge. I'm the kind who saves lives. But after what he did, after the kicks he laid into Bella, I knew if I didn't do something, I wouldn't be able to live with myself. Marcus loved to brag about nutrition and discipline, so I started with what he worshipped most, routine. I struck up conversations with a smoothie shop cashier next to the gym. She couldn't have been more than 20. She was forgetful with customers, and especially easy to fool if you pretended to be a regular. After a few chats, I casually slipped that someone had left a wallet in the parking lot, and I described Marcus from head to toe. The next day when Marcus came in for his smoothie, the girl asked, "Did you drop your wallet?" That question sent him into a frenzy, because his wallet wasn't in his pocket. I knew that for a fact because it was sitting in the glove box of my car. I didn't take anything. I just wanted him to feel what it was like to have someone dig through your personal life without permission. He slammed the counter, demanded to see the cameras, interrogated every staff member, and I sat 50 meters away documenting the exact look on his face when he realized everything inside the wallet had been disabled. Later, I returned the wallet via his mailbox. Everything intact, clean, not a single thing missing, but I added one tiny note: familiar feeling, losing control. And Ryan was the type who lived for the spotlight, even if it was just the dim glow of a cheap bar. I didn't need to take anything from him. All I needed to do was snuff out the attention he fed on. I started leaving a few anonymous reviews under fake names on the bar's website, the one he always hung out at. Weird seeing a guy wearing half a firefighter uniform, drunk, acting out a fight scene in front of women. Claims he's a hero, but no one from the department seems to recognize him. Not a great vibe when someone starts kicking the air to reenact a takedown. Awkward. No accusations, no slander, just the truth. 2 weeks later, I saw Ryan sitting alone at the bar, trying to chat up the usual bartender who now suddenly became too busy every time he opened his mouth. I saw his scowl when a stranger took his regular seat, and I saw him drinking more than usual. I didn't smile. I didn't feel smug. I just sat in the corner with Bella, her leg now healing, and quietly acknowledged what I was doing wasn't revenge, it was revelation. And this was only the beginning. Chapter 5. They struck back and made another mistake. I once thought I'd stop. After weeks of watching them shaking their fake little world, making Marcus lose his wallet, making Ryan become the subject of whispers, I thought maybe that would be enough. But here's the thing, guys like Marcus and Ryan, they don't know when to stop. They're not the kind to be brought down by shame. They're only afraid of losing face. And when someone rips off the mask they've worn for too long, the only thing they know how to do is smash the mirror. Tuesday morning. I was walking Bella in the park near my home as usual. She could walk almost normally again. Still flinched a little when joggers passed too close, but the limp was fading. I was learning how to breathe again without needing a wall at my back. The park was quiet. The sun had just risen. Bella walked close to my leg, sniffing every patch of grass. I was thinking about writing my daughter a letter, even though it's been 6 months since she last called. I was lost in thought when Marcus appeared. He jumped out from behind an abandoned maintenance shed like a ghost. Before I could react, he grabbed Bella's leash and yanked hard. She let out a sound, not a bark, not a growl, but a pure primal cry of terror. I lunged, but Ryan was already there, waiting, blocking the other end of the trail. One in front, one behind. They had planned this. Ryan raised a hand to stop me. His eyes were full of hatred. No cameras, no audience, just raw, unfiltered rage. I don't know what they had found out. Maybe the reviews I'd posted, maybe some social media photos, or maybe they just figured out who was behind their trouble. Whatever it was today, they weren't here to talk. Ryan shoved me hard in the chest. I stumbled, falling onto the gravel. My ribs, still not fully healed from slamming into the memorial wall weeks earlier, flared with pain. I looked up. Marcus was tying Bella to a bench with her own leash, keeping her out of reach. She howled and writhed, claws scraping against the concrete trying to get to me. I was angry. But more than that, I was scared. Not because they could hurt me, but because they could hurt her. Marcus turned back, standing beside Ryan. The two of them towered over me just like they had at the memorial. Same eyes, same twisted smugness, that I'm above you expression I'd seen on bullies as a kid, on power-tripping captains at the station, on cowards who'd never faced a real fire. He spoke clearly. Stop. Delete everything you've done. Take down the posts, the photos. Stay away from my wife. Stop with your little cyber spy games. Or else... Ryan nodded, cutting in. Or else next time, the dog won't just be tied up. I lay there, silent, gravel scraping into the back of my shirt. Bella still crying, her voice strained and hoarse, but I said nothing. I let them think they'd won. I let them walk away heads high like they'd just taught me a lesson. But inside, I made a promise they just made the same mistake again. The first mistake was disrespecting me. The bigger one was hurting Bella. And this time, they weren't just two arrogant fools who didn't know better. They were two men who knew they were wrong and still chose violence. After they left, I untied the leash and held Bella close, checked every inch. No new injuries, just shaky breaths, a racing heartbeat, and the way she pressed herself into me like she was scared I might leave her too. I didn't say a word, just buried my face into the warm fur of her neck and breathed, not to calm down, to remember every second I had stayed silent, every time I'd stepped back, every time I tried to let it go, tried to live peacefully. But not this time. This time, I wasn't playing the long game anymore. No more gentle nudges. They wanted to play dirty, fine, but I didn't need fists. I only needed the truth. And this time, I'd let the truth destroy everything they built. Chapter 6. The finishing blow. When they started to collapse. After they ambushed me in the park, something in me changed. Not into someone cruel. Not into someone violent. But into a version of myself I had forgotten, the man who never hesitated to walk into fire if it meant protecting what mattered. They thought I would retreat, that I'd delete everything just like they ordered. But they were wrong. More than that, they revealed what I needed most: fear. I began tightening the noose, not with fists, but with truth. Marcus was the first to fall, and he fell faster than I expected. I dug deeper into his finances. Marcus's social media was full of success. Rolex watches, luxury vacations, $300 bottles of wine at dinner. But then I discovered it was all debt. Banks, credit cards, shady loans. He had a side gig as a cash-paid personal trainer completely off the books. I found his client list, training hours, pricing, and with one quick trip to a printer, I had a file thick enough to make the IRS salivate. But I didn't submit it, because my goal was never to legally destroy him. I wanted him to self-destruct. I started planting seeds of doubt into his home life. I coincidentally ran into his wife, Catherine, at a cafe near the dental clinic where she worked. I became a regular, and after a few visits, I struck up a conversation. I didn't say anything outright, just little things like a breeze that chills the spine. Your husband must work out a lot. I saw him in limited edition Nike gear. He must earn a great salary, huh? Private coaching is expensive. Ever worry his female clients get overly friendly? That's all it took. At first, Catherine barely reacted, but a few days later I saw her on the phone as she left the cafe. Her voice was low, but her eyes ice cold. Ryan was a different story. He lived off admiration. All I had to do was cut the power. I created a few anonymous accounts and began posting photos from the memorial event. Ryan watching as Bella got kicked. Marcus crushing my medication underfoot. Me collapsed against the wall, blood dripping down my face. No captions, no accusations. Just tags linking to the fire department's official account. People started talking. A few former honor guards commented, "I remember this." Everyone just stood and watched. One person added, "That guy Ryan once shoved a veteran off the front row for sitting in the wrong seat." Then came the domino effect. Ryan was summoned by admin for an explanation. The photos he once proudly posted as his hero, moments became evidence against him. And then the moment I had been waiting for Marcus broke. I was sitting in my car, watching from across the street, when the door flew open. Marcus stormed out, dragging a suitcase face, pale as a hospital wall. Catherine stood behind him, holding up a stack of papers looked like credit card statements. They argued. I didn't need to hear a word to know what it was about. She screamed, "You lied. All these years I've been living with someone I don't even know." Marcus drove off. That night he slept in the gym parking lot. The next morning I saw him sneaking into a public restroom, washing up, changing clothes. Gone were the tight gym shirts, flaunting his muscles. He looked like a man trying to glue back the shattered pieces of his pride. Ryan started to fall too, but in a louder, more desperate way. He still showed up at the bar on Thursday nights, but now no one sat at his table. The bartender cut him off after 2 drinks. He drank more, talked more, and eventually said too much. One night I sat near his table. He recounted the service dog incident like it was a war story. I put that faker down. Had him crawling like a dog. Someone recorded it. I don't know who. But the clip made its way onto Reddit the next night. Captioned, "Fake Hero," describes how he kicked a service dog that saved a PTSD firefighter's life. The community exploded. Ryan was asked to step down from the memorial roster. Marcus stopped showing up entirely because he didn't even have a clean shirt left to wear. I never had to lay a hand on them. They burned themselves down with their own lies. As for Bella, she walks almost normally now, but whenever a man walks too quickly toward me, she still hides behind my leg. I don't blame her. I too used to hide behind closed doors when the nightmares came. They thought breaking me meant defeating me, but I've survived fire. I know how to wait, I know how to endure, and I know how to end things. Chapter 7. Return to the Memorial 1. Final Unmasking. I hadn't planned on going back to this year's memorial. After everything that had happened, I didn't think I could handle standing in the middle of the crowd, hearing the morning bugle, seeing the crisp uniforms, enduring the judging eyes. I thought it would be better to stay home with Bella in silence. But then Chief Jackson called. He didn't say much. Just one sentence this time. It's to honor you, not question you. I spent the whole week thinking about it. And on the morning of the memorial, I stood in front of the mirror, staring at my uniform freshly pressed for the first time in years, the old medals now replaced, the Medal of Valor polished back to its original shine, my father's coin, an exact replica restored and tucked into my breast pocket. Bella wore her blue service vest, walking beside me like she had never been hurt. No more limping. No more hiding behind my legs in fear. We walked together into the memorial site. People turned to look, but there were no suspicious glares, only nods. A gentle pat on the shoulder. A stranger placed their hand over their heart in salute. I didn't know them, but maybe they knew me. I thought, so this is how a firefighter is welcomed back, not with applause, but with presence, with simply being allowed to stand here without being pushed away. And then I saw him. Marcus, near the gate, no longer in his ceremonial uniform. Just a wrinkled suit, clearly too expensive for his current situation. On the other side, Ryan, clutching his phone eyes, darting around, clearly searching for a good filming angle. They weren't supposed to be here. Their resignation letters stated it clearly. No contact. No presence at department events. But still they came. Out of vanity. Out of a desperate hunger to be seen no matter how. I didn't back down. Bella and I kept walking, crossing the wide plaza. Marcus stepped forward to block me. Without a word, he reached to rip the medal off my chest. Mistake. I grabbed his wrist. Firmly. Didn't yank, didn't strike, just looked him in the eyes. For the first time, without fear, without flinching. Ryan, of course, was recording the whole thing. He always had his phone, always needed proof. He shouted, voice shaking like a third-rate actor. He's attacking me. He's out of control. This is your hero. This is your honored firefighter. No one moved. No one stepped in to help them. People stood and watched. Some shook their heads. Some backed away, not wanting to be involved. But not a single person believed them anymore. Then Chief Jackson appeared quiet and heavy like an oncoming storm. He didn't raise his voice, just said 3 words. You two, leave. Marcus froze. Ryan still tried to say something, but the stack of printed pages he held, intended to expose me, only revealed his own lies, reposted from his past social media rants. He had tied himself to the truth. Bella stepped forward. No growling, no barking. She calmly moved between me and Ryan, then sat down and turned her back to him. One small motion, but in the solemn stillness of the memorial that turned back, spoke louder than 1,000 curses. An old firefighter began to clap, then another. Seconds later, the entire memorial stood and applauded for Bella. Not for me, but for the dog who endured it all and still walked forward with a calm grace neither of those men could ever possess. Marcus lowered his head and walked away. Ryan followed, phone forgotten. No one looked at them as comrades anymore, no more glory to shield them. They had done everything they could to be called heroes, and in the end, lost it all, because they messed with the wrong dog. I stood there gripping Bella's leash, letting my breath melt into the sound of the bugle. In the wind, I heard the names of my 5 teammates, read aloud, one by one. I didn't cry, but my vision blurred, not from pain, but because for the first time in all these years, I felt like I was allowed to stand among them. Not because I needed recognition, but because I never left the ranks in the first place. Chapter 8, The Ending. Peace doesn't come from victory. After the memorial that day, I returned home in silence. No trumpets, no celebration. Just Bella, curled up in the passenger seat, her head resting against the window, dozing in and out from exhaustion. I looked at her and thought, we did it. Not revenge, survival. Funny, isn't it? Nah. All those months I survived by clinging to a plan for payback, step by step, detail by detail. I made the 2 men who shattered my dignity pay with the very false honor they clung to, and then when it was all over, when Marcus was left by his wife, when Ryan was abandoned by the very community he tried to impress, when I stood among applause, watching Bella turn her back on cruelty. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt empty. The truth is, survivors don't seek victory. We only want peace. I sat alone in my apartment. The phone rang a few times. Chief Jackson, an old colleague, some stranger from the ceremony. They left voicemails, thank yous, apologies, but I wasn't ready to listen. Bella ate her dinner like she always did. No rush, no hesitation. I watched her eat, then drink, then curl up beside me as if nothing had ever happened, and I realized Bella is the one who truly understands what survival means. No complaints, no blame, no need for medals, just being near the one you trust and continuing to live. I pulled out the folder's documents about Marcus and Ryan. Bank statements, screenshots, fake reviews, anonymous messages, each page a weapon in the war I had won. And then I tore them all up. I didn't need to keep them anymore. Marcus is now just an unemployed trainer, stripped of his hero in a suit persona. Ryan, I heard he works part-time at a hardware store. When someone asks about his real experience, he just gives a forced smile and dodges the question. As for me, I'm still here. Still waking up in the middle of the night from screaming dreams. Still on medication. Still startled when someone knocks unexpectedly. But now when I open my eyes, Bella is there. She sits quietly, blinking at me. Not asking if I'm okay, just being there. And that's enough. I've learned that peace doesn't come from making others suffer. It comes from no longer letting pain control you. That afternoon, I hung my uniform back in the closet, pressed and neat. Not because I needed to wear it, but because I was finally ready to face it as a part of me. No longer something to fear, no longer something to be ashamed of. I opened the balcony door, letting Bella out to stretch on the warm tiles. The breeze moved softly through the air. The distant sounds of traffic drifted up like an unscripted soundtrack. I don't know what tomorrow will bring. I don't know if the nightmares will return, if I'll still shake during the next ceremony. But I do know this. I stood in the silence and didn't fall. I was pushed to the bottom and kept walking. I was once the only one who walked out of that burning building, and today I survived again. No one needs to call me a hero. No one needs to pin a medal on me. As long as Bella is here snoring softly, her head resting on my leg, I know I've made it home. And that was his story. No Hollywood ending. No blazing moment of glory. Just a man who once walked through fire carrying 47 children, who lost 5 of his brothers and now lives with memories no one else will ever truly understand. But he's still here, still standing. And beside him, not medals, not honor, not applause, but a small dog. One that was once kicked in the gut simply for being loyal. If you've ever been misunderstood, if you've ever stayed silent because you couldn't speak, if you've ever been stepped on simply for not fitting in, then remember this. You are not weak for staying quiet. You are strong for still being here. Thank you for listening to True Reddit Reads. If this story spoke to you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so we can keep telling the stories that deserve to be heard in the voices of those who were once forgotten.